Welcome everyone to our webinar series, Decipher the Dating Code, Solving the Mysteries of Dating and Relationship in the 21st Century. My name is Dr. Dan Amzalag, and I'm your moderator for today's workshop. Now, here's a quick bit about myself. I am a cognitive behavior psychotherapist and marriage and relationship coach, passionate about helping people build healthy and lasting relationships. Now, these workshop series explore the many challenges of modern dating, from online interaction and communication struggles to emotional availability and genuine connection. Now, our goal here is to help you navigate today's complex dating scene with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Now, joining me today at this workshop is our expert panelist, Mr. Jack Kammer, who brings deep insight and practical knowledge in the field of dating, relationship challenges, and so much more. So before we begin the workshop, I'll invite our guest panelists to briefly introduce themselves, as no one can do a better job. Jack, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dan. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for including me in this very exciting set of workshops that you've lined up. So who am I? Well, you can see that I run a little operation called Male Friendly Media. It's basically just me with all of the media efforts I have undertaken. Started with a radio show. I've done videos. I've written books. I've been a freelance writer. Was a podcaster. Had a pretty good amount of success as a podcast guest. Since 1983, I've been very, very deeply interested in the issues of men and boys, the social issues of men and boys. So I am an advocate for men and boys, but that doesn't mean that I'm an antagonist of women and girls, because I always want to look for the win-win situation. Mm-hmm. And I think there are some very big opportunities for win-win situations that we've not explored lately in the dating scene, mm-hmm. where women and men are both not very happy with the dating scene. But I think with some rethinking of what the opportunities are, we have some great opportunities for win-wins. Mm-hmm. The win-win for women would be that I want to talk about how there is a lot more to men than just how much money they make.
Correct.
And you know, that needs to be said, just as it needed to be said 50 years ago, mm-hmm. 60 years ago, that there's a lot more to women than how good they can cook.
Yes.
Right?
That's so true. You're right about.
So I think men are dying, sometimes literally dying to be recognized for being worth more than how much money they make. Because there are some really wonderful guys mm-hmm. who just are no good at making money.
Yes, you're right.
They're just no good at making money, but like lots of women 50, 60 years ago who were no good at cooking, they were great at other things. Mm-hmm. And it was a sad thing when we were wasting their talents. It's been a good thing that we have stopped wasting their talents. Similarly.
Yes, but we're going to go deeper into this topic. But first and foremost, first of all, thank you so much, Jack, for being here today. And let's jump directly into this topic as we discussed, because we have a very short time in terms of this workshop, and we'd like to be able to delve directly into the most important topic that we decide to cover. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get started with a real life scenario taken from some of my existing clients dealing with the topics that we will cover today. So for this scenario, I'm going to call this person Alex, okay? So when Alex first came to me, their life looked full, but didn't feel fulfilling. They were juggling work-life balance in a way that left no harmony, always trying to please everyone, both at work and in their relationships. Now, that same pattern showed up in their dating life. Alex realized that weren't actually dating, they were performing. Every interaction was shaped around approval seeking, hoping to be chosen rather than choosing someone else for themselves. Now, as we worked together for the past couple of years, Alex began practicing something powerful. Instead of performing, he started attracting. And instead of presenting the version they thought others wanted, as you just mentioned about the money, etc., he learned primarily to show up authentically to every single day that he showed up to. And this is when their self-worth started to shift. They begin attracting the people who value the real them and not the curated version of them. So at the same time, Jack, Alex also struggled with datings in today's fluid world where traditional gender norms don't always apply. And you mentioned about women 50 years ago, they were taught to cook, they were thought to be nurturing, taking care of the kids, and men were the one, bringing the money in. But now everything has shifted. And this in itself caused a lot of people in the dating scene to not know how to act anymore. But what we've discovered throughout the years is that we should not follow a specific script. Always try to find a way to see what the other person is expecting, because again, expectation brings disappointment. So what did Alex found was not only to better his sense of self, but also a balance about who he is by himself and who he is in a relationship. So let's talk about the work-life balance, Jack, and how to bring harmony in both men and women and let go of those expectations that women are supposed to be cooking and men are supposed to bring the money.
Well, okay. Let's talk about the whole spectrum very quickly. The spectrum for women has gone from being expected to take care of the home, cook and clean, take care of the kids, to now extending to the other end of the spectrum where women can very legitimately aspire to be scientists, politicians, governors, senators, one day the president, before too long, probably.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a good thing. The spectrum has not expanded nearly as much for men and boys. And so what that means is that a woman who really wants to become a partner in her law firm in 3 years really has to work hard to become a partner in her law firm. But that's really what she wants to do. She also wants to have a family. But it's very difficult for her to have a family and try to become a partner in a law firm because she's always worried about the kids and she's always got to make them a priority. Not always, but she will often have to make them a priority, which gets in the way of her doing what she needs to do to make partner.
Mm-hmm.
The sad thing is that we have an opportunity here in that there are plenty of men who are lawyers, who hate being lawyers. They don't want to be lawyers. They had enough of it. It's just not what they want to do. And more research shows that there are men, many men, who want to spend more time with their kids, which should not be surprising because for 50 to 60 years, we've been talking about breaking down sexist barriers. But we haven't broken them down very much for men because men still feel primarily responsible for making money in many cases, when what they'd really like to do would be to be at home with the kids and bringing a male value, a male set of values to raising the kids, running the home, keeping the systems at work, the systems at home operating for the benefit of a happy family. Mm-hmm. And if the woman who wants to become a partner in the law firm is lucky enough to meet the man who is in the law firm and doesn't want to be, then we have an opportunity for a new negotiation. I will support you in your career. You will support me in my desire to be a primary nurturing parent. Now, this is the extremes. It's the ends of the spectrum. Not everybody is going to be on the ends of the spectrum, but there are an infinite number of combinations of how to balance this so that both the woman and the man feel that they have balance in their lives in a way that they want.
Okay.
I think it's a huge opportunity for us if we can sort of legitimize men reinventing themselves the way women have reinvented themselves.
Yeah, but then don't you think, Jack, that may cause, because of a gender role change, that now if the woman is the one who is going to elevate her career, that may cause some form of disrespect towards the man now that he's actually going to be spending more time with the kids and taking care of the house. The woman is going to be growing in her career, and she may no longer see her husband with the same pair of lens.
Okay, well, you know, there's a word for that. If she does that, the word for that is that she's being sexist.
Okay.
Because she is accepting and pursuing rigid expectations of what a man should be.
Okay.
The expectation that she is following in your scenario is that a man should make money.
Correct.
Preferably, he should make even more than I do. But that is called sexism. 50, 60 years ago, there were mothers and fathers telling their daughters, oh, you really shouldn't be thinking about being a lawyer. You really shouldn't be thinking about being a doctor because you're not going to find a nice man to want to marry you. What was that called? That was called overcoming sexism.
Yes.
And there is sexism that operates very, very heavily on men. And I think that is one of the main causes of the struggles that men are having now. We talk a lot about men don't have a purpose anymore. Well, that's craziness, except for that it's happening in reality. The part that seems crazy about it is that we need male nurturance. We do not have too much good parenting in America today.
That's so true.
And so we are wasting male talent as nurturers. Fathering is a very valuable commodity. It's very important for kids. We need to stop wasting it by sending men who could be really great primary parents, sending them off in the commuter train every morning to go into a big city and do a job that they hate, and then they come home and they're unhappy and grumpy, and it's just not good for anybody. So we need to talk about a change for men equivalent to the change we've had and seen and supported for women.
Okay, so
go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jack. So then when it comes to the dating scene, when, you know, instead of like trying to perform, trying to impress, oh, this is how much I make, this is how much this, and so on and so forth, how can, if let's say we're talking about gender roles or gender change of roles, how can a man be able to attract the right type of woman that she will be okay with him, taking care of the family, taking care of the home, etc.? Could that be exchanged in the first few dates in the beginning, or that has to be or has that wait for a while? But then if they do not agree on the roles of the gender, then the relationship may break. So it was a waste of time. So when do you think, when they start dating, when does this information should be exchanged?
Well, look, dating involves a lot of wasted time. You know, if you consider it a waste to have hopes that you're going to be meeting the person of your dreams on this date you're going to have tonight,
Yeah.
And find out that, no, this person is not for me. So we have to accept that this is a very labor-intensive process. You spend time, you spend a lot of hope, a lot of energy trying to find the right person. But it's crucial, I think, for men, especially these days where men are sort of, in a way, desperate to be regarded as worthy of a woman's attention.
Correct.
It's important for men to sort of have a backup plan. What would plan B be for my life if I cannot find a woman who can love me for who I am and who I want to be, and who will value me for what I have to contribute to a relationship, even though it's not money? Well, he needs to be prepared for the fact that he might be a bachelor for the rest of his life, and that's going to be sad. But at least it's not as sad as being married, having kids, having the wife after 15 years say, I don't love you anymore, goodbye. And that's really sad. There are some advantages to being a bachelor. mean, not every man needs to be married. Um, I didn't get married until I was 60. And
Okay.
always in my 30s, 40s, 50s, I had men saying to me, how did you avoid it? How did you escape it? Not every married man is a happily married man. Of course, not every married woman is a happily married woman. But there are pluses and minuses to being married and to not being married for a man. And so if you can be comfortable thinking about how you could live a happy life without being married, not as happy as you'd like to be, perhaps, because you're missing in the intimacy category. But if you can accept the possibility that you can have a happy life not being married, it makes you less desperate on the dating scene. And you have more confidence, as you put it, to be who you are. Here's who I am. I hope you like me. I hope I like you. And maybe we can do a deal. I think a good way to think about this is to think about Super Bowl Sunday. What is everybody watching on Super Bowl Sunday? They're watching the Super Bowl, right? And on the dating scene, we're all sort of like little radio stations or TV stations, and we're projecting an image. We are projecting a program. And our programming typically is the Super Bowl, because that's what most people on the dating scene want. They want the standard, normal expectations. But not everybody on Super Bowl Sunday wants to watch football.
Correct.
There are always people who would rather watch a ballet or a comedy or a discussion about politics. And so that's called counter-programming. And I urge and suggest that men think about counter-programming and saying, hey, you want Super Bowl? You got 400 guys in this bar right now. You can go talk to any one of them and they'll give you Super Bowl. I'm not going to give you a Super Bowl. I'm going to give you who I am. And I think there is an interesting name that men can apply to who they are if they are truly true to themselves.
That's so true.
And comfortable with not being worried about impressing a woman for how much money she makes. Instead of being an alpha male, instead of trying to be an alpha male and trying to convince a woman that you're an alpha male, I think a much better program for men to broadcast about themselves is that they're alphabet males. It's not just one letter, alpha, it's the alphabet, everything. I am a man who has a full range of expression, who has a vocabulary of intimacy, a vocabulary of feelings and emotion. I want a real relationship, not some phony baloney, performative, as you mentioned, performative version of myself. And, you know, not every woman is going to say, oh yeah, great, I've been looking for an alphabet male. But there are enough women out there looking for a real relationship with a real man who is really interested in doing his share at home and then some, and being perfectly willing to support his wife's career.
Yeah. But then again, Jack, but here's the problem is that nowadays we have 81% of the women, the married women, who initiate a divorce. That was the latest statistic. So now if the man knows that and they go into a relationship, they go into marriage, they're going to having kids, and they know that this is a greater percentage for the women to want to end the divorce, what is the incentive now for guys to be able to try to perform, to be able to get the attraction of the type of women they want, when not many people now are good judge of character?
I don't know that it's an issue of good judge of character. I would say it's an issue of pursuing the wrong type of character.
Okay.
Yeah, so women initiate 81% of divorces?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Why are they getting divorced? It's not because they're happy. It's not because they made the right choice when they were on the dating scene. It's basically the realization that, oh my God, I don't really love you.
Okay.
I really don't love you. I should have married that alphabet male because even though he didn't make as much money as I did, he's now a successful whatever, poet, writer. He's got a beautiful family of his own, and he's the full-time stay-at-home father who is supporting his wife. I should have gone for that. I think the divorce rate would be much less than 81% if we had men and women making better choices about who they were going to marry in the first place.
Yeah, but then again, Jack, it's we don't know. No one can predict the future into determining how the course of the marriage will go. I mean, obviously, people who get bored, they will either have an affair or try to be able to, kind of like no longer participate in the family's dynamic or go at work and hide at work to be able to avoid having to deal with the responsibility of being a father or a mother to their kids and spouse. So then again, it's, where's the dating scene going at this point? I mean, now the guys just don't know what they really want. So if they don't know what they want, they don't know how to attract the things that they don't know they want. And the same for women. So if we're not even clear about what are we looking for, how are we supposed to attract it?
I think the first step is not what am I looking for in another person, but who am I in myself? What do I want? What do I need to be happy? If he doesn't take that step to think about himself, what he wants, what he needs, what will make him happy, and if he doesn't take that step to think about the pros and cons of being married, not married, if he's desperate to have a partner, even before he's thought about what kind of a partner he wants, he's much less likely to make a good choice. If he knows what he wants and stands on his feet and does a serious negotiation, maybe not very romantic, but a serious negotiation with the woman about, here's who I am, here's what I need. Where are you on that score? And then she talks about what she wants and what she needs. Maybe it's going to work, maybe it's not. But 81% of divorces being initiated by women suggests that women haven't made such good choices themselves.
Okay, then again, Jack, so why don't we simplify the whole institution of marriage and call it just like a basic business contract where after 10 years of a business contract or a marriage, it could be up to renewal or just completely end the marriage instead of having it where it becomes more of a monetary way for the state or the government to make more money. Because then again, when you get the state involved, you basically get them to decide if you're allowed to divorce or not, based, of course, on a lot of like processes that you have to go through with child support payment, with this and that. So if the state were no longer involved, do you think all of this could have been simplified?
I think we need to be thinking about kids if there's a divorce between a man and a woman who share kids together. We have to be thinking about the kids.
Yes.
Who's going to get involved in that if not the state? I don't know. But divorces are going to happen. I'm just suggesting that divorces would happen far less frequently if there is serious negotiation, especially on the part of the man, for who he is, what he can offer, what he can feel good about providing. I think a lot of men, after about 5, 10, 15 years, sort of are thinking, is this all there is? And oh my God, I am being crushed by this pressure to just make money, make money, make money. Uh, I am definitely a secondary parent at home. That's not what I want.
Mhm.
Um, I should have negotiated better, more clearly for what I needed to be a happy spouse and a happy father.
Mhm.
Men, men are, I think, very, they're overly desperate to close the deal,
Yes.
to get, to, to get married. They're desperate. Um, they're desperate because they think they're going to be happy if they get married and unhappy if they don't. And they don't know that that's the case. They might be happier if they don't get married. A man is much better off, I think, being single than being married to a woman who doesn't appreciate him for who he really is. And men need encouragement to take that stand. And then I think if men do take that stand, women will begin thinking, oh, we've been saying a lot of bad things about men over the past 50, 60 years, but wow, now that they're all gone, we really miss them. We really miss them. We didn't really value them for everything they did that was good. And women don't want men who are pushovers. Women don't want men who allow themselves to be bossed around. Women want men who have integrity and understand themselves and emotional intelligence and character. And on the dating scene right now, I think men are lacking in that kind of confidence, self-assuredness, integrity, recognition of their own value, and they're just willing to give away they're willing to sell the farm just to get married. And I think probably a big part of that, I mean, if I remember correctly how I was in my dating years, it's a lot of it's about sex.
Mhm.
I am one horny person. Um, but that's a very bad reason to get married because even if you find the sexiest woman in the world, look, tell the truth. After 4, 5, 6, 7 years, come on. It's the same woman. It's sex is not always fireworks and passion. You need something more than that to sustain a marriage.
Mhm.
And men need to recognize that and put it on their checklist of what are the pros and cons of being married.
But then,
You know,
but then, Jack, unfortunately, people always put their best side of themselves when they go dating. They're always gonna say, "Yes, this is what I want." Oh my God, me too, me too. But people change throughout the years. Life has a way to be able to kind of change our perspective of what a healthy relationship is all about. And we no longer have that kind of like honeymoon stage feeling towards that person that you just mentioned in terms of attraction. Intimacy becomes boring. People lack wanting to put effort in looking better or looking fit or anything of that sort. Women or even men tend to gain some more weight. So all of this changes completely from what it was in the beginning, where the two couples, when they first meet, they go exercise together, they go to the gym, they go do activities. So all this is great. But after the responsibility of having a family, bringing kids into this world, and so on and so forth, that may change completely the way that the relationship goes. And as we're approaching the end of this workshop, unfortunately, because we could go on for hours, what would be your last few words, Jack, to be able to let people know that even if they're clear up front about what they want, their desire do change?
well, everybody's desires change. Whether you are ready to sell the farm and give away your integrity and get married out of desperation or not, change is inevitable. But you have a much better chance of having the changes be positive changes if you investigate, if you take the time, if you don't feel desperate to get married quick before she gets away. The more you know about a person, the longer the time you take in seeing how a person is after the initial dating period, the more likely you are to have the information you need to know whether or not I have a pretty good chance of having a complete happy life with this woman.
Mhm.
And it'll be really fun being a grandparent with her.
Mhm. But so in your own words then, Jack, do you think that now that the way that the internet and the dating apps goes, etc., is becoming more and more complicated to be able to find your true soulmate and have honest and direct communication with them, or at least some conversation about what you're looking for?
I think that the barrier to what I am talking about right now is men not feeling confident to enter into that type of a negotiation, that type of a job interview, to really, really, really take time to get to know who it is that you're going to be hiring to be your wife and
Mhm.
who you're going to go to work for to be her husband. We need to take time, and you don't take time when you're desperate.
Yes, that's true. But then again, you have to be smart enough to be able to make the right choice, because then again, when you go into the dating scene, you have had past relationship before that failed, and you know the cause of the failure. So that makes you smarter, and that makes you wiser, and that you know what you want and what you don't want. So in a way, more experience you have in the dating scene and not take too much break in between relationship, that basically allows you to be able to make a better sound decision and know exactly what type of woman or men you admire to be the most with.
A key part to making the right decision is putting out to her what she needs to be deciding about as well.
Mhm.
Here's who I am. You need to decide whether you like this or not, because all your girlfriends are looking for men making a lot of money. And I'm not going to be that way.
Mhm.
Men would do themselves a big favor if we were to say, I don't care what you say. Um, 50 years ago, women weren't supposed to be doctors or lawyers. Today, men aren't supposed to be full-time stay-at-home parents if they want to be respected by women. I don't care. I'm going to find myself a woman who has no problem respecting me for that.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, I'm looking for a woman who will respect me more for being like that, because that's what we need these days. More nurturing men,
Yes.
focusing less and less on making money.
Because really, honestly, the money, you don't bring it with you. So what really you have left in this world before you depart is basically a legacy that you leave. And in terms of your kids, remembering who you are and not, oh yeah, my dad was always at work, I rarely saw him. And where dads don't even know what grade their kids are in at school. So that kind of like we see less and less contact with family members. But then at the same time, kids also are very, very selfish, Jack, which after 18 or when they have a life on their own, barely approach their parents or communicate with them. Of course, depend on the relationship they had with them. But then I see a lot of detachment, broken homes. The family no longer interact or communicate with each other. But that's going to be space for another workshop. But on that note, Jack, thank you so much for being here today. And I hope that this workshop is going to be able to give a different perspective to all of our listeners. And I know it is a very, very short workshop, but we will offer more extensive seminar with question and answer format for all the attendees that will be able to come up to or sign in for this session. Now, we hope that you've all enjoyed today's event and looking forward to seeing you at other workshops we have planned all through the year of 2026 with new expert panelists covering various exciting topics related to dating and relationship in the 21st century. So I will hope that everyone had a good time and please enjoy the rest of your day.